All right. Who do we have? We have Marty McFly. First one. You're always the first one. Welcome to the stream. That's like right as soon as my camera's on, I realize, oh, I have so many little flyaway hairs. That's okay. Gonna wait for a few more people to join. In the meantime, oh, I guess I could have grabbed my notes. Not that I totally need them, but they might be nice to have. Oh, hello, Alexandra. I see you've joined the chat. Linda, hello. Renee, hello. All right. We have 16 already. That was quick. Awesome. Just gonna let a few more people join the chat. Aw, thanks, Alexandra. Says I look cute. Thank you. Ooh, Diane, hello. Ooh, pardon me. Oh, we have Bastards on Fret Killer. Oh, thank you, says Talent and Beauty. Hello, Dave, Carrie. All right. We have, well, we jumped from 16 to 14. I think a couple of people will be back, but that's okay. Just gonna get some of my crystals out and get ready to connect. I'm just gonna take a couple deep breaths. I'm really excited about today's stream. Really, really excited. Here we go. Because I had started listening to a couple of lectures from this Alan Watts. And at that time I was interested in learning about Taoism, and I didn't really understand it, and I just wanted to know more about it and what it meant and how it's, you know, how it's practiced or whatever. And I was hooked immediately. I don't know what it is about him. Like, he died a long, long time ago, but his old, decades old recordings are just as effective now as they must have been then. And I couldn't shake this feeling that he was trying to talk to me because he wants to get a message out to everybody. It was kind of like what happened with Phil Harris. Basically, Alan Watts wouldn't leave me alone. I felt like he just wasn't leaving me alone. I kept seeing his face flash up in my mind's eye, and I kept being reminded of some of his quotes, and oh, that was really weird. Hopefully you guys aren't buffering. I'm not sure what happened. My internet did something funny. But I also get the sense that he's here right now. So I guess a little bit about who Alan Watts is. He was a very famous, world-renowned philosopher. Lived from 1915, 1973. He had a way of interpreting things like Buddhism, Hinduism, and Taoism. I think there were a couple of other isms. He made it so easy for Western audiences to understand. The way he was able to explain how these concepts worked and how to practice them. And he was just really wise and had a pretty spicy sense of humor. He had a lot of wit about him. He says had, you mean has. He is here. He spoke with me a little bit last night. I tried to do some meditation and I kept feeling his presence around. I knew he wasn't going to leave me alone until I did a medium reading on him. So, oh, I don't know if you could hear that. I have these little magnets. They're clicking around. I'm going to put them away. If the sound bugs you, let me know. I also have my bedroom fan running, so if that sound bugs you, let me know and we'll deal with it. All right. Oh yeah, and like just more about Alan Watts. Like he's written so many books. He's done lecture tours. He spent quite a significant part of his life on a mountain, just I guess chilling there, living there, or something like that. Very interesting guy. He's politely waiting for me to get on with this. Oh, we're also sitting up on my bed today, so if we're jiggling, that's why. Whenever we shuffle, we might jiggle a little bit. All right, so is it okay if I call you Alan? Just because it's a little bit easier. Says call me whatever you like, darling, but Alan is fine. He says that's not my soul's name, but that's the name you remember, so it's quite all right, he says. I see we have 24 people in the chat. Hello. 26. Hello to everybody who's just joined. You haven't missed anything yet. We're only a few minutes in. We're just getting the reading started. Now, what would you like to talk about first? He says, kind of with this little smile, like, oh, the state of the world, the state of things. And I thought I had seen it all in my lifetime, and you think you'll see it all in your lifetime, and your children will think they've seen it all in their lifetime. Gina, that's a really good question. What is his soul's name? He says, I'll tell you in a moment. He still wants to kind of give his 2 cents on the way things are going in the world right now. Similar things happened in his day. You know, now the sense I'm picking up is just things like corrupt people in the government and illness and what else? Despair, he says, if you choose to see it that way. So he's validating us, like, you know, he understands what we're going through is difficult. We're seeing a lot of difficult times. We feel like, are we even going to be able to sneak away with the skin on our back, you know? You can't control what happens in the outside world, but you can control what happens in your inside world. Queen of Swords. And you know what? Queen of Swords is somebody who really does, she's not afraid of her own authority. She's not afraid to be like, I don't like this, so I'm changing it. He's kind of chuckling at my We have the power to create happiness and joy inside of ourselves. He says, frankly, that's one of the lessons of this lifetime. Earth is a challenging school. Oop. I'll try and shuffle so that we don't jiggle too much. He's just saying, I've lived through it until I died, and you'll live through it until you die. He's showing me something, it's more like a bunch of mental images. He's showing me something to do with the things happening in society being kind of like a backdrop or like our setting. And I mean, sure, we can change the way that our our landscape looks. You know, you can do all that kind of stuff, but you can't change the color of the sky. You can't change, well, actually you can sort of change the color of your grass, fertilize it or neglect it or whatever. He's saying, don't be smart with me. Okay, I'm sorry. But he's saying that there are some things that we cannot change. He's saying we can dwell on that or we can leave that behind and focus on improving our inner worlds. He says you'll realize that it's key to improving your outer world. Your newfound desire to care for yourself will spark a newfound desire to take care of the ones around you. And it might spark a newfound desire to take care of the other living things around you. And inside of your loved ones, it might spark a desire for them to care for others and to care for the living ones around them. It all has this great ripple effect, you see. Oh, somebody asked a good question. Now, his soul's name and... Oh, I just missed it. Where is it? If he remembers Dr. Paul Mild. Is it Mild or Mild? He does say yes, he does remember. Hello to everybody who's just joined the chat. He says yes, he does remember Paul. Just a sec. Just looking at your comments here, seeing if there are any more questions. Okay. What can you tell us about, well, now I'm curious too. They want to know, you said that Alan is not your soul's name. He says Sienna is not your soul's name. What can you tell me about your soul's name? It is, I am. That's the best way to put it in English terms. It is existence. It is life. Alan is one of many names I've gone by and one of many names that I recognize. But I simply am. And you simply are. He just is. He says, you're holding your deck upside down, darling. Thanks for pointing it out. I actually didn't notice that. Now, we are living in some really uncertain times, and we had just kind of started talking about that, and you were saying that we can't control our outside world all the time. Maybe some things we can, some things maybe we can affect a little bit. But like you were saying, we can't change the color of the sky. We can't change the weather. He's saying we can't change the patterns of the wind. But we can change what happens inside of ourselves. So can you go into more detail about this? Is there any other advice you can offer? We have some people are just wondering here, how do we change our mind and our spiritual environment? He says, first of all, I want for you to be present. And this is for everybody. He says that he's giving us an exercise he wants us to try. And he wants us to have our eyes closed. He's showing me eyes closed. He's saying, how does it feel to have your right toe? Any one of the toes, doesn't matter which. Or how does it feel to have a hand? How does it feel inside of your body? Do you feel the flow of an electric current? Do you feel the beating of your heart or the intake of the breath in your lungs? Can you feel the sensation of warm or cool on your skin? I ask you to be present. What happened yesterday, the goings-on of last night, they no longer exist. Because this is the present moment which you are feeling. Your future worries, the dealings of tomorrow, they do not exist. This is the present moment, and what exists now is how it feels to have toes, how it feels to have hands, how it feels to have the electric current of prana, some call the life force energy, through the body. Try this for a moment. You'll see it's very obvious with young children, but try this with yourself for a moment. Sit up straight and sit as still as you can for as long as you can. You'll start to feel a slight tremble, maybe a little shake, a little twitch here or there. That's the prana. The prana has to move. It wants to move. Feel this energy. This will help you to ground. Some call this grounding. I like to call it being present. Pay attention to the sound of your breath as you inhale, and the feeling of the air against your nostril, against your lip, as you exhale. Good. You've discovered the present moment. Now, live in it. He's showing me something about peeling potatoes. And something about just being present and being mindful, not worrying about how well you're doing being mindful and how well you're doing controlling your thoughts while you peel the potatoes. You're just supposed to focus on peeling the potatoes. You're just supposed to just do it. He's saying life is a little bit like this. That during times of overwhelm, to remember that practice, that exercise that he had just shown us. And he says it might take a little bit of time and a little bit of practice, and it might take a little bit of work. It did for me, so it might for you. But when you feel this overwhelm, when you feel the despair from the world around you, go back into this space called the present moment. And realize that all that exists, pardon me, in this moment is you. You are. He says, you may have to repeat this several times throughout the day. Dave, you have a wonderful point. It is a really wonderful practice. You can do it anytime, any place. And we have Alan, he's like smiling. Interestingly, okay, he's appearing to me as, now people who are familiar with him are probably quite familiar with pictures of him from when he was older. He's got a beard and a pipe. He does sometimes show up like this, but sometimes his face kind of morphs and transforms into like him as a young man. And he has these very, very intense eyes. They're just piercing. And it's like he can look right through me. It feels like he's looking through me. He's very handsome. And just looking at his face, and you might find this just from looking at photos of him, that you can just feel the wisdom in his face. You can see the wisdom in his eyes. And connecting with him just as a medium, I can feel this. It's very comforting. It's just this sense of comfort that, well, now I'm hearing right now, all I am is what I am. And that is all I need to be, and this is all I need to do. He really is brilliant. I'm going to have to remember this mindfulness exercise because really, I do talk about the benefits of meditation and how it can really help open up your mediumship and your psychic this and that. But do I always remember to do it? Not necessarily. And it's nice that mindfulness can be practiced anywhere whilst doing anything. I'm going to have to look at the peeling potatoes thing. That sounds really familiar, and I think that he does have, there is a quote, and he compares something to peeling potatoes. I'm going to have to look that up and find what the exact quote was. I don't know if it's the same as what I just got. That would be cool, but we'll see. Is there any more advice you can give us? Remember that you create the reality that surrounds you. And once you've gotten better at the practice of mindfulness and the practice of calming oneself, you will find that creating your own reality becomes much simpler. There are fewer attachments to things like fear and things like worry. The past no longer exists. Why worry about your previous failures and shortcomings? If you want to create some financial fortune, but you keep finding yourself obsessing over past money mistakes, how are you going to build on your fortune? If you want to build your empire and you are concerned, will I be able to do this? Have I the capability? Have I the skills I need? Worrying about that future thing constantly, you're going to find an attachment to it, and it's going to make it hard to create. In the present moment, you remember that all you are is what you are. And what are we? We are matter. We are the atoms and molecules. We are the space between the atoms, the molecules. We are the chains of protein that run our bodies. We are the cells. We are the space between the cells. We are the space between moments. We are the space between spaces. We are not the things that we worry about, and we are not the things that we desire. We are not the things that we wish to avoid, and we are not the things we feel shamed for. And once you remember who you are in the present moment, and you remember that every moment is the present moment, it will become a little easier for you to remember that not only are we the matter that we're made up of, and not only are we the elements, not only are we the rocks, the trees, and the sky, but we are the life force that has brought all of this into being. We are the divine, as the divine flows through us and connects us to everything and connects us to ourselves, as the divine connects itself to itself. He kind of chuckles. Remember that the divine is love and that you are love in this present moment. And remember that this present moment stretches on through every moment. When you remember that you are love and you are not your fears and you are not what others may have said about you without truly knowing who you are, and when we remember that we are love and we are not the pains of the world around us, it makes it easier for us to feel a sense of control over ourselves. Control, responsibility maybe. Control sounds a little extreme, but a sense of responsibility for ourselves and our lives. And when we remember that we are love, we begin to feel that love for ourselves. As much as we feel it for others, as much as we feel that we are connected to others, we feel that we are connected with ourselves. And you will want to create what is best. And you will want to create what will serve you and what will heal you. Now, I'm going to read some comments. I had my eyes closed for a long, long time. Oh my gosh, 69 people. Wow. Okay, just checking some of your comments. Hello to everybody who just joined. Laura says, I'm not being a smartass. Can we control a tornado or war? A tornado you wish that we could control. It would save many families' homes, and it would save some lives. Save the lives of some poor cows that have been sucked up and drawn away. War can be controlled when we can learn to control ourselves. If everyone remembered the connection that we have to each other, there would not be a need for fighting. There would not be a need. Llama just joined the chat. Said, who's Alan Watts? I thought that was Al Gore. Just to recap for those who just joined, who's not familiar with him, Alan Watts is, or I guess was while he was on Earth, a well-known philosopher, a Zen master. He made concepts like Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, mindfulness, things like that. He made them very easy for Western audiences to understand. And he actually helped spread the popularity of those kind of things. in the Western world. One of many good teachers. Kathy says, if you can feel the pain you cause. Yeah, if everyone could feel the way that they made other people feel, if everybody could see that extra perspective, and it's really hard to do that when you're limited to a single physical body, right? It's really hard to see things outside of your own perspective. But if everybody could see that, how all of our actions affect everything, and like that ripple, like Alan was referring to, maybe we would treat each other a lot better. He says, part of the lesson here for your soul is not being able to see everything from every perspective all at once. He says that adds to the challenge. He says, they never told us Earth was an easy school. There are many schools of life, and Earth is in popular demand because of its level of challenge. Now, okay, here's what is the spirit realm like for you? And what was it like when you had sort of crossed over? From what I understand, you had kind of died a little suddenly. I don't know the cause of death, but just that just from looking at the dates, born 1915, died 1973, most people live longer. He says most people, yes. But if you think about it, you know people who have died at younger ages than that. And you've known people who've lived long stretches of decades and haven't really learned much. Okay. And just crossing over and learning a little bit about his experience with that. Now, like I said, I don't know the details about his passing away or what kind of happened there, but what I was hearing from just what was coming in was I had made my wife a cup of tea. I had given her a kiss goodnight. And so, like, some of his last interactions were very positive with people that he loved. And then he says, I don't remember the act of dying itself. I sort of slipped into light. He's saying a light slumber, like he was expecting to. Uh-oh, is it buffering for you guys? It's working okay for me, but I'll give it a second. Make sure that it's not a problem on my end. Uh-oh. Okay, so, oh no, you guys are saying there's connection issues, video issues. I'm gonna try something and then we'll get right back to this. It's funny, normally, like I was feeling his presence like kind of over here over my shoulder. And when you guys started talking about your technical issues, I felt him take a step back. He was worried that he was the one affecting I don't know, the resolution of the stream. So he's taken a few paces back, it seems like. He was a little concerned that, yeah, he was the one messing with this. Yeah, Alexander says, I thought his energy was interfering. And he took a step back because he thought he was interfering, and I was kind of wondering if he was too. Not that I want to, blame him or anything. Almost like he just has a really strong presence. And right as we got talking about like his spiritual like crossing over and things like that, things really got weird. I'm gonna try something, you guys. I will be right back. And we're gonna see if we can fix this. Okay. Is this a little bit better? And just sort of try turning it off and turning it on again. That things. Okay. Is that better, you guys? A bunch of yeses. Okay, so we're gonna just start the section over. He's still he was like right over my shoulder, and he's still right over by that back wall there. He's like a little concerned. He doesn't want to get too close because he doesn't want to affect. Okay. But so if you guys missed it, where we're talking about like his passing away and like crossing over experience, he was saying like his last interaction with his wife was very positive. He had made her a cup of tea and he had kissed her goodnight. And I don't know. Now, what I do understand was that he had spent a lot of time on a mountain towards the end of his life. And I don't know if this like cup of tea and last interaction with his wife, I don't know if she was there on the mountain with him or if that was just his last interaction with her before he went there. But his last interaction with her was just so positive. And he just really wants to point that out. He says, if my family finds your video, I would like for them to feel just positively. He's just about like his last interactions with them. He was confused at first. He had died in his sleep. So he had gone to bed, and we were talking about, he was telling me about how he fell into this kind of like a light slumber like he had expected to. And then all of a sudden, he was somewhere else. He's saying he did remember having dreams in which he was aware he was dreaming and that he was sleeping, and then all of a sudden, boom. What he's trying to send to me is like the sensation of being popped out of the body. Like well, I mean not that sound, but I'm trying to think of something. I don't know. I can't think of anything that would describe it. He's trying to show me he's calling it a pop gun or cork gun. Something a child would play with. It's a toy gun. It's got a cork attached to a string. You put the cork in the end of the barrel, right? And you pop, and the cork pops out. That's what he's showing me. And he said that he felt as though he were the cork being popped out of the pop gun, out of the toy gun. He's saying you might compare it to a kernel of popcorn. 1 second, it's the kernel, it's the seed. The next, it's boom. He's saying that could also describe the way he felt. And he was really confused. What kind of dream is this? And then it took him a second to realize, oh, this is not a dream. This is not a dream. Somebody came to him. My own mother. Mother, like something about a motherly energy, felt just like his own mother. So Of course, I don't know if his mother was alive around the time he passed away or if she had already passed away, but he was met by somebody that just really had this beautiful energy, and he calls her mother. And she was the one who, now I'm seeing a mental image, she put, his hands inside of hers like this, and held his hands like this and said, Alan, you have died. Like, you are dead. That's what I was hearing. Alan, you are dead. You have died. You are here now. And it took him a second, but I don't see any cards of fear or anything like that. The only confusion was like, what kind of dream is this? And then realizing, oh. And I actually heard, just when I said, oh, like, what kind of dream is this? I heard, oh, shit. He realized where he was. He was reunited. He was reunited. Now I'm getting with this. He was reunited with all aspects of his soul. He was reunited with the oneness. He was reunited with, it's just weird. It's like with everything. He realized he got to watch one last view of Earth. He got to look at, I'm seeing kind of like a montage almost, of just like waterfalls, places he's visited, just beautiful scenes from places that he had been, and places he had traveled to study and to teach and things like that. He's saying he realized that I was the waterfall. I was the very blades of grass in the meadow. I was the horse chewing on the grass. I was the cells inside of the horse's body. I was the eyelash that fluttered down from her eyelid and touched the ground. And then he's talking about how he felt as though, just watching this montage of just beautiful scenes on Earth, he felt as though he was kind of getting sucked upwards into the sky, sort of, even though he was already in a different realm. It's really, really strange. I'm sorry that I can't be more clear about it. And he's like, I am the sky. I am the wind. I am the gravitational pull of the moon on the water, on the tides. I am the moon. I am the tides. He was reunited with just everything that is. And what have you been doing in the spirit realm since then? I'm going to pull these cards back and shuffle them. What have you been doing in the spiritual realm since then? He says, oh, multiple things, this and that. Tidying up my own personal karma. Reconnecting with old loved ones as they come to join me. I study and I learn. He's showing me, he calls it the Great Lecture Hall. It's a golden, well, it's a brown building. I don't know what it's made out of, but it looks like this really rich, dark wood. And it's like the color of coffee. I don't know why that's important. I don't know why he's pointing out coffee. Maybe he used to like coffee or something. And the building has like gold. It's got all these gold accents on it. And the window frames and the door frames and the foundation is all gold. He says he found it interesting at first because on Earth gold is such a soft metal that he wasn't sure if a foundation made of gold was going to be a good idea. And then he remembered, oh, the rules of Earth don't really apply here in the spiritual realm. And he's showing me this great lecture hall. It has a massive library. It's like a round-shaped place, big open space. The walls, it's floor to ceiling, bookshelves, books, scrolls, texts, He's also showing me like holographic images as well. Instead of like a physical document, just something sort of, you set the intention of pulling it out of the shelf and it just sort of materializes in front of you, almost like a screen or a hologram. It's really strange. But it's all kinds of teachings from all schools of life. So there's teachings from the School of Life, Earth. Akashic Records sounds about right, SB. That's what I was kind of wondering too. Alan, is this what you would consider that? He says you can access the Akashic Records, what you call the Akashic Records, from this location, yes. He says you can access them from many places, and this is one of many. He's sitting in, there's like the auditorium, there's all these like just benches, and they're filled with light beings. Some of them look like people. They want to manifest as people. Some of them look a little bit weird. I'm just saying. Some of them just look like blobs of light. Some of them don't look human at all. And I don't know what they are. I'm seeing a purple being with a rather long, slender neck and a pointed little snout. And that's just what her people look like in her world. He's pointing out how amused he was, and not amused like, haha, look, that person's different than me, but amused at just the variety of different ways that creation experiences itself, manifests itself. He says, you are but one aperture that the cosmos uses to view itself. And you look the way you do. And everyone looks the way they do. He's just saying how it was amazing how creation, how life just chooses to express itself. You know, sometimes it manifests in the form of a baby. Sometimes it's a banana. Sometimes it's a petunia. He's showing me all these things. Sometimes it's alien-looking beings in other worlds. There's a very tall angel. The letter I is important. I-O. Something about I-O. I don't know if that's a name or what it is. It's attached to that angel, though. He's a very tall being. I say he, even though he's kind of looking androgynous. Doesn't really matter, but I'm just getting a masculine energy. From just this being, and he's standing at this lectern or this podium looking thing, and he's speaking and he's teaching and he's doing hand gestures, and as he speaks and as he does these gestures, images show up around him over his head, and they show up kind of in the space above him, images that help to illustrate his point and help to illustrate the things he's trying to teach. And so Alan is showing that he's a point of awareness in the back of the room. And he just wants to observe. He's not manifested as a body with his bum in a chair. He's just a little tiny point of awareness. I don't know how else to explain that. It would be the same. He's saying it's like you seeing with your eyes, but not being able to see your hands or your body. It'd be like if your body was invisible and all you are is just some floating eyes and a brain. Anyways, this I-O, I'm just calling them I-O, is teaching. And Alan is listening, and he's absorbing the information. He's absorbing the energy that comes. Now, the messages are not spoken as I'm speaking to you. They're all telepathic. But it's energy that's being transmitted. And this teacher is receiving the energy from the students as they understand what's being taught to them. And so Alan, he's showing me how he's this point of awareness that's absorbing, soaking in all of this information. It looks like they're doing a physics lesson or something. I don't understand anything I'm looking at. I'm seeing numbers There's like some dot to dot things going on. Looks like I connect the dots, but it's like a sacred geometry. I don't really know what's going on, but it looks like a spiritual math class. And he learns in the spiritual realm. He does so much learning. Do you ever teach and speak in the spiritual realm? He says, I have, but I prefer to listen and learn. I think I've spoken enough in my life on earth. However, I do like to teach still. I do like to help those who are new to heaven and who are new to the lecture hall. It can be a little overwhelming the first time you come in. You might feel like you're about to get lost with... I'm also seeing like it's a round building. There's like all these hallways. It's almost like a little maze. And in the center is where all the learning happens, where the big auditorium is. And there's just so much to this building. And he says that just the way the paneling on the walls, the details inside of it are alive. It's like he's showing me the mental image of a wallpaper with roses. And he's like, think about this. But imagine if your bedroom had wallpaper with roses and the roses on your wallpaper could grow and blossom and bloom and wilt and then start over again. Sprout, grow, blossom, bloom, wilt. Over and over again. He's saying he's watching. I wonder if he's watching, like, is it other lifetimes you're watching happening with this, like, sprouted, growing, blooming, blossoming, wilting? It's just that pattern over and over and over again. And the wall, like the paneling on the walls, the wood is like that brown coffee colored, whatever it is, wood. And all of these little beautiful details in the wallpaper, it's made out of gold, like gold leaf. And it just looks like somebody painstakingly stuck each tiny detail there by hand, painted every tiny little detail, and the details in the artwork are alive. Sometimes he just sits and watches it. And he teaches others who are new to the spiritual realm and still feel overwhelmed how to just sit and watch this, and to sit and remember how it feels to exist in the moment right now. What else do you do in the spiritual realm? Oh, I check in on my family, the standard stuff, he says. I check in on my family. I help my son do his research. I don't know what kind of research his son does, but that's nice. He helps his son do his research. You help him to do his work. I encourage him and I remind him of things I had told him in the past. He's also saying that he's really happy that his son goes through his old writings and goes through all of his old work. Because he's saying, this is my child. It does not matter that I've died, and it does not matter that you've grown. You are my child, and I want you to learn, and I want you to be well. And so he hopes that for every challenge that his son encounters in life, that, oh, we had a little misconnection there. Able to have some kind of wisdom on it that they can go back and access. He says, this is my way of caring for them even when I cannot be there all the time. When I cannot be there in the physical for him. And for my wife, and for the rest of my loved ones. What else do you do in the spiritual realm? This is so exciting. You've been a wonderful teacher, and you've been an absolute joy to talk with. He's moved a little bit closer to the camera again. He's moved back a little bit closer to me. Are there any things on earth that you regret? What are some things that you What are some things that you think you could have done better? What are some things that you had to balance out karma from after you crossed over? He says, I could have put less and fewer harmful substances into my body. Just from cards that I'm pulling, I was just guided to pull. He was worried. No, wait. What was it? You regretted worrying too much about money. Sometimes. He says it wasn't all the time I worried about money. It was just sometimes, because he just wanted to make sure his wife was well taken care of. And he thought that if his wife was well taken care of, then his child would be well taken care of. Oh, thank you, Cheryl, for your super chat. Thank you. And the reason he regretted worrying so much was because his family was fine. He knew they were fine. They had, obviously families go through challenges and hard times, but he's just saying, like, on the soul level, they were totally fine. And he regretted worrying over a silly thing like money here and there. Is there anything else? He said, I had used language in some of my lectures that I realize now could have been harmful. He's pointing out a lesson or a lecture in particular where I think the point he was making was that, like, we're multifaceted or something, or that we are not the things that people say we are. And he was saying, like, there's something about using terms that nowadays would be very insensitive racially. He says back then he didn't know that certain words that he had used could be so hurtful. What he was just trying to do was illustrate a point that you are not what people think you are. He's saying that he does regret if he's harmed anybody with that, but that he does have love for all human beings and he has love for all living things. Now, somebody in the chat was asking, I just want to go back and see what that question was. Alexandra was asking, how does he work on his karma over there? Because you were saying you were healing some of your own personal stuff in the spiritual realm. How did you go about this? He says, I was shown a grand review of my life, as many of us are when we come to the other side. I was shown the things that I could have done better, and I was shown the times where I could have been more loving, and I was shown the times where I could have done the better. What am I being shown? I'm not getting words, I'm getting mental image. He's being shown like two boxes, two scenarios. If he had made one choice, this would have happened, but he made this choice, so this happened. That's what I'm being shown. He was shown things like that. He says, I dealt with a lot of forgiveness, dearie. Forgiveness for the self, for the wrongdoings that I had committed, and for the mistakes that I had made. Forgiveness to those who had caused me pain. Expressing, what is this? What is this feeling? It's not like full-on remorse, like sadness, like, oh my God, I'll never forgive myself, but it is the realizing that, oh, that hurt someone. The realizing, it's like a split second of like feeling embarrassed and then being like, okay, what should I do to make this right? This is the feeling that he's sending me. And he's showing me that an angel or a guide had appeared to him and had walked him through all of these different situations on earth And he was able to maybe not necessarily go back and relive the certain things, but he was able to go back and interact with those memories. I don't know why he's telling me that. He could go back and interact with those memories. And then they would pause, and the guide would say, so, in this situation, originally you chose to say this. What could you have done instead? And then I'm just getting that he'd said, or he would say to the guide or whatever, well, with what I understand now, I would have just let it go, or I would have just said this kindly, or I would have just, and I'm just seeing like all these different things where he's telling this guide or this angel what he could have done differently. And the angel is nodding or taking some notes. And then the angel says, when they're all done, now I don't want you to take this as a punishment. I don't want you to take this as a judgment. Because there were times watching the review where he had already judged himself. The angel said, take my notes, and I want you to learn from these, and I want you to study everything. And it seems as though that's how he's kind of been able to work through things from his life. And he says that being able to go back, and he does go back and sort of visit his family. I don't know if they know that he's there, if they can sense him or anything like that, but he goes and he comforts them when they need it. And he says that's another way. He goes to people, he's gone to people that he's wronged and has tried to send them love energy. He's saying that we can do the same kind of thing while we're still on Earth. Sometimes it's more difficult because the ego really makes it hard to say sorry. Sometimes it makes it really hard to admit when you're wrong and to be sorry. And sometimes the ego has trouble with forgiveness too. And he's saying that the angel just showed him times where maybe he did his best, but still maybe didn't do the perfect thing. Or he did his best, but the situation still didn't really work out. He's being reminded of acceptance. So now it's like the angel said to him, take my notes, you study everything that we've learned, you've gone and you've sent love to all of these beings. Now I need you to accept it, that you've done everything that you can do, and you're going to move forward and do more in this, in this realm while you are here. So that seems to be how he's worked out his karma. Are there any last messages that you want to share with us? I feel that you're getting a little bit further away, like your attention is starting to be directed elsewhere. Is there any last things you want to share with us? Come to me anytime, he says. No, I'm not a god, but I do know some things, and I do wish to help. And he's saying this to everybody. Even just for input while you make a decision. He just genuinely wants to help. I like that. And that's just the energy that he wants to leave us with, is that he wants to help. Oh, I think I also understand what he means by we can come to him anytime. We can access his wisdom when we listen to his old lectures. We can read his books. We can look at all of his works. To the person who just asked how important does he think meditation is, he heard your question, and he says it is essential. We did talk a lot about mindfulness towards the beginning of the stream, and he's saying that that's essential. Okay. Now, I do feel like he has to go. The feeling I get is that he doesn't want to. He could stay and talk all afternoon, but he has to. There's somewhere that he needs to be. So. I do feel as though he's gone now. Like, I don't feel the presence behind me anymore. But I'm really, really grateful that he wanted to talk to us. And like, I'm sure he's tries to get in contact with all kinds of mediums and channels and stuff. I'm just so excited that he picked me today. And, maybe another medium is trying to talk to him. Maybe that's why he needs to go somewhere else. Who knows? But, oh my God. I'm so glad that I found his teachings, and I'm so glad that he pestered me until I read on him. Oh, I feel so good now. I feel so calm too. Oh, Alexander, thank you for your super chat. Honestly, Alan Watts is up there with Nikola Tesla on my list of like top 5 favorite people I've done medium reading with. This was amazing. I'm shook. I'm so grateful that he actually wanted to speak to us. So, you know what, with that, I also have to go. I need to get some lunch in my belly. And with that, thank you to everybody who joined the stream. Thank you to all of your, for everybody for all of your kind comments and your questions, and for those super chats, and just for watching. All I really want is just for you guys to feel like you are better for having joined, and to just feel happier for having been here on my channel. So, yeah. All right. Everybody have a great day.